Economists call this phenomenon a monetary overhang. People have wallets filled with cash, while shops remain desperately empty. The shortage economy reaches its peak. Citizens wait 4 hours to obtain a loaf of bread. As soon as they spot a queue, they join it without even asking what item is being sold. Shoes, perhaps, sausages, probably, toilet paper, possibly. You grab whatever you find because tomorrow stocks will have vanished. The social contract breaks. The Soviet people had tolerated the absence of political freedom because the state guaranteed stability, affordable rent, assured food. Now, this stability flies away. Shelves are empty. Money is worth nothing. The West observes carefully. The banks of London and Frankfurt become nervous. They notice that the Soviet Union now borrows solely to pay interest on previous loans. Debt has exploded, going from nearly $0 to $50 billion in just a few years. Bankers realize the emperor is naked, and above all, that he's penniless. In 1989, the Soviet economy no longer slows. It literally disintegrates. The Berlin Wall falls. The satellite states of Eastern Europe free themselves. To the entire world, this resembles political emancipation. For Moscow's accountants, it's a financial catastrophe. For decades, the Soviet Union had forced Eastern Europe to trade in a closed circuit. Henceforth, these countries demand to be paid in dollars for their goods. The entire commercial bloc collapses. Inside the Kremlin, panic sets in. Gold reserves melt like snow in sunshine. In the mid-1980s, the Soviets possessed tons of ingots stored in their vaults. In 1990, they secretly transport gold toward London and Zurich, selling it urgently just to pay for the next wheat shipment. They sell so much precious metal so rapidly that they depress the global price, obtaining even less value for their desperation. Then the war of laws begins. This administrative battle delivers the final internal blow. The Soviet republics, Russia, Ukraine, Baltic states, begin withholding tax revenues destined for the central government. Boris Yeltsin, leader of the Russian Republic, orders his tax collectors to keep money locally rather than send it to Gorbachev. The Soviet central budget evaporates. Gorbachev presides over a nuclear superpower but has no income. He commands the atomic missiles but cannot pay the guards who watch them. In 1990, the unthinkable occurs. The Soviet Union begins defaulting on its commercial payments. Cargo ships filled with frozen meat and butter anchor off Leningrad, refusing to dock. Captains transmit by radio that they will unload nothing until checks clear. But the checks are bouncing. The Soviet government must beg. Emissaries depart toward the West, hat in hand, to solicit humanitarian aid. What humiliation! The nation that had defeated Hitler, sent the first man into space, now asks Germany for relief packages containing powdered milk and canned beef. The ruble ceases functioning as currency. The economy tips toward barter. Factories pay their employees in tires, crystal glasses, whatever they manufacture. Workers then stand at roadsides attempting to exchange a set of tires for a bag of potatoes. The black market becomes the only real market. The American dollar establishes itself as the only real currency. Taxi drivers, prostitutes, waiters form the new elite because they access foreign cash. Professors and scientists sink into poverty. In August 1991, hardline communists launch a coup against Gorbachev. They station tanks in Red Square. They want to restore order, turn back time. But they forget a crucial element. You cannot defeat economics by force. The putschists have no plan to fill the debt, no strategy to stock the shelves. The coup collapses not only because the people resist, but also because the conspirators realize they're fighting to become captain on the Titanic while the ship already lies at the ocean's bottom. When Gorbachev regains power after the coup attempt, he resembles a ghost. Real power has shifted toward Boris Yeltsin and the republics, but the debt remains. The World Bank and G7 convene a meeting. Terror seizes them. The Soviet Union owes nearly $70 billion. If the country fragments, who will repay? Ukraine, Kazakhstan. They demand a joint and several liability agreement. Leaders declare to the republics, no matter who governs, but someone must sign for this debt. During the final months of 1991, The Soviet Union exists only on paper. No money for November's payroll, none for December's. Presses run 24 hours a day, producing high-denomination notes worth less than the paper used to print them. Hyperinflation has arrived. December 1991, terminus. The Soviet central bank, Gosbank, is insolvent, literally out of gold. The legendary reserves, which rumors valued at thousands of tons, have disappeared. Investigators will discover later that only about 240 tons remained in the vaults. The rest had been sold, stolen, or squandered in a desperate attempt to maintain the system on artificial life support for one more month. On December 25th, Mikhail Gorbachev sits at his desk to sign his resignation. He doesn't resign because a foreign army conquered him. He abdicates because he has lost the capacity to issue valid checks. The Soviet Union officially ceases to exist, but the spectre of the empire still haunts the accounting ledgers. The new Russian Federation, led by Boris Yeltsin, inherits the UN seat, it inherits the nuclear codes, and it inherits the debt. Russia agrees to assume 100% of Soviet foreign debt in exchange for ownership of all USSR foreign assets, the embassies and remaining gold. This financial burden crushes young Russia. Throughout the 1990s, the new democratic government suffocates under interest payments on loans contracted by the communists. The shock therapy reforms that follow stem directly from this bankruptcy. No resources available to cushion the transition. Subsidies are eliminated overnight. Food prices explode by 2,000%. The savings of millions of ordinary Russians evaporate in a few days. The poverty that follows is horrific. But it doesn't originate from the 1991 collapse. It finds its origin in the addiction of the 1970s. The pain of the 1990s represents the withdrawal symptom following the petroleum overdose. It will take years for Russia to climb out of the chasm. In 1998, Russia defaults again, provoking another crash on global markets. Recovery doesn't truly occur until petroleum prices begin climbing again in the 2000s. In 2017, Russia finally settles the very last Soviet Union debt, a payment to Bosnia-Herzegovina. 26 years necessary to close the accounting file of a defunct empire. The fall of the Soviet Union constitutes the ultimate warning about the natural resource curse. It teaches us that raw materials never constitute true economic strength. The Soviets believed they were wealthy because they possessed petroleum. They confused luck with genius. They used easy money to mask their structural problems, buy social peace, and conceal their inefficiencies. They built a superpower on commodity foundations. They tied their survival to a figure displayed on a market screen in London. When that plunged, nuclear warheads didn't save them. The KGB didn't protect them. Ideology didn't rescue them. An empire incapable of paying for its bread no longer deserves the title of empire. It becomes a ticking time bomb. Ultimately, the Cold War was won by no missile. It was decided by a grain shipment the Soviets could no longer afford to purchase. The hammer and sickle didn't fall under revolution's blows. They went bankrupt. If this dive into history's economic backstage fascinates you, subscribe now to Ancient Times. You'll discover the hidden truths that textbooks omit. Because when the history books are written, you'll want to be among those who saw beyond appearances. Join us to understand how money, power, and betrayal truly shape the world.